Hello everyone. Today's video is about my current ongoing project. This is the Hermes shuttle, or at least one of the prototypes. Um, I am only announcing it now, well, showing it now, as I didn't have too much hope about it succeeding at first, but now that I know it's well on the way, I thought why not I just show you. So yeah, I'll show you quickly around. We've got some just so you know, temporary microcontrollers here for some features. It was developed in the 80s in Europe by the European Space Agency and other nations at the time, and it would be Europe's first manned vehicle that would be used to get to the ISS and other vehicles on their own, without having to make use of the American or the Soviet or now Russian launch systems. As you will see in a minute, it's a very small shuttle. This variant would have had only a capacity of 3, and it's a kind of integrated habitat / cargo kind of style. So there's no if you take the real shuttle, the American shuttle, there is no big cargo bay in there. It's kind of an inside habitat made for, transfer to a station. So quick outside, quite some basic wings, as you would imagine. Paint error once again. The back is pretty simple. You would have some maneuvering engines here, a reaction control system block on each side. This is joke chute for the landing sequences, and finally you also have the docking tunnel system to get to the service module, which I will possibly show in the next video. In this current state, the gears are retracted, but I'll show that in a minute. And let's now go on to the cabin. This is the cabin. It's a pretty small cockpit with just about what you need here. Some basic instruments, which will get a bit developed a bit more. It's, as you can see, a crew of 3. And so you have a pilot, co-pilot, or logically commander, pilot, and your passenger. Your standard 6-window cockpit, some small, bit sketchy angle windows, but they do fine. A relatively simplified panel compared to some Marvin projects, as you may know, with some of the lights. And that's about it on the first one. The reason there's just that door here is because this whole cockpit section, about just roughly the entire grey bit, just from the back of the grey bit. So from here all the way to just in front of the window. That's one piece. As one of the variants would be actually could be ejected during launch as an abort mode. The entire cockpit would go off instead of some, for example, because this shuttle actually flew on top of rocket, not on the side, unlike the American one. So that's about it in the inside. Some of the relays here. Some basic equipment that might get upgraded. And moving on to the back, pretty basic. Here you have your panel board for some of the instruments, which can be activated from inside, but can be turned off, just in case the connection breaks between the two or something. I'll start from the right. Here you would have some storage equipment storages, but here as well. Here, on this, these would be 2 beds, vertical, like any space station would have, or any space flight, like the shuttle would have. Only 2 because in a crew of 3, one would be standing. This would be not fully done yet because it's not going to be functional. This would be kind of like the food station type, similar to the one on ISS, because there's not a lot of documentation about the one on Hermes. because it's not really existed. And here is one of the most important. You have a cargo rack. So these would just be racks where you would place all your equipment. Here I've just put one dummy first aid equipment rack. And coming on lastly, you have your bathroom, well, your toilet really. Basic at the moment. I don't really know what to do in terms of detail. It's a bit, yeah. And there you have access to your bag, and it goes all the way there. And yeah, that's about it in terms of features of now. There is a service module I'll show in a minute, which is the interior is not done yet. There's not really anything to be done yet. And I'll show you if they work here. The landing gear deployment system, featuring a block issue, and your basic gear. You just had to inspect it. You have your landing lights. Some SOS systems postable. These would be some lights and a transponder inside the cabin if the cabin was to be ejected. There is a GPS and altitude system available. It is working. I've spent quite a long time doing it. Even some of the breakers that you saw behind are accessible here. Yeah, your basic, some indicators for the Ariane 5, as it would be. This panel would actually be for the Ariane 5. Some separation arming. Separate the orbiter, for example, if it's doing a piggyback on an aircraft for some test flights, that would be actually done. And yeah, light guy, cycle lights, different modes depending on temperature. Your heating system, breakers for what you need. Engine controls, air brakes. Air brakes I'll show you actually. There you go. Your average. Oh, and of course the side door. There would have been planned a top door, but due to this restraining the fact that the parachute had to be there, we're not going with top hatch. And that's about it. As I was saying about quite small, yeah. If you compare the shuttle, that was quite big aircraft. This is quite tiny. And now showing you the back. This is a service module. It's quite small in terms of length, but quite large at the back. This is because it goes from the Hermes is diameter all the way to Ariane 5's last stage diameter. So basic engine stuff, not too much detailed. Some stuff for testing. It's got quite a small interior actually, because well, the planned one wouldn't have a big one either. So you go through here, that'd be probably just it. That's all you'd get. And maybe this would be an airlock or an access to a space station you'd dock to, depending. But right now it's kind of equipped with some very important hardware, so you're not getting that. This would be this would be the service way. The reason it's a two-piece is this part is actually not sealed, so due to a hidden engine here, due to space restraints, it would be using two air ram engines. This is for space saving, funny pun, and also most importantly, you get immediate thrust. Well, you get at least thrust very fast. This will be useful for the second abort mode. Abort being when you need to get away from the spacecraft as soon as possible. And so yeah, that'd be it. This is in between. So this is part of the shuttle. I shouldn't have done that. This is part of the shuttle. This ring, and the other ring is part of the service module. So they're kind of they're closely linked. And this is going back. Also a small detail, you'd have a servicing hatch on the top. I didn't show it to you along with the motor. just for that's how I got the landing gears back in, because it spawns back out. It's kind of like an override for it. Yes, there is a motor, and that's because the main reason for that is because actually you can't, even though in real life it wouldn't have been the best glider in the world, there is no gliding physics in Stormworks, at least poor ones, and this fellow would have at least glided a bit to the right way. So this bed just gives you a tiny bit of thrust after you separate it from the module, and you're just kind of like, descending and landing on a runway. Which, yeah, that's about all you need to know. So this would be your service hatch. Because there could actually be plans for a reusable spacecraft in game. That means you could load this one as a vehicle, put it on the Ariane 5, launch it. When you're done, transport it back. Just rearm some system, recheck some system, put it back on the Ariane 5 and take it for another spin, if you'd be bothered to do all that. And that's about it. That's all I have to say. If you have anything, questions, drop a comment, drop a Discord direct message. Maybe if you have, if you like the content, just drop a like. That could be nice to see if anyone's actually interested. Subscribe if you want as well. And that's all for today. Thank you.